Good evening. I've been doing several different videos, and I find that some people don't like the way I was doing it. I was having a computer read it. So I'm going to try something different. I'm going to talk to you directly, and I'm going to go over a story of a man named Captain Dick and his wife, formerly known as Jack Hall. Now, Jack Hall was a true cowboy through and through. But she could not be a man. She was a woman, and she was forced to hide her identity and her sex so she could go and do her things as a cowboy. Now, it was quite a thing. What happened is it was in Arizona, and it was a tale of a woman masquerading in cowboy attire. She lassoed cattle, taking parts in shooting scrapes, leading the wild, free adventure life of a Arizona cowboy. It's a story of a woman who, because her father was hung as a horse thief, was forced to change her name and hide her sex. And the beating of hoof and whining of the bullet sought to drown out the memory of the disgrace. As a fitting finale, when her sex was actually discovered, she turned around and married Captain Dick, who at the time was the bravest and boldest cowboy in all of Arizona. It's a story that's kindled with strange and dramatic incidents. Would occur nowhere else but in Arizona, and it was just an amazing story. Just about a year ago, that a slender, clean-shaven youth seeked work at one of the big cattle ranches near Williams. Captain Dick, who was the leader of the cowboys at the time, engaged the tenderfoot and Jack Hall, which is the name that she took. It was the name of the applicant for work. Gave one his spurs in the annual rodeo for which the cowboys were preparing. By day, Jack sat his horse, rounding up cattle, and he slept on the ground. He was quiet and distant toward the other cowboys, but they did like him. Before the first month had passed, he had an opportunity to show his mettle. A number of cowboys had gone out drinking. They had hit like 15 bars, and they were quite intoxicated. And this first instance was actually the bartender was forced to go into the center of the saloon, and if he did not dance to their liking, the cowboys would shoot at his feet to make him bounce, to make him try to get away. And he was very tired. And Jack Hall watched this from a distance. She wasn't drinking. She was just watching what was going on. And when she saw that the bartender was in a lot of trouble and that she could no longer keep up dancing, she quickly grabbed the gun away from the cowboy who was doing the shooting. And then she said, "If you want more dancing, do it yourself." Well, the cowboy tried to snatch another weapon, but he wasn't quick enough for her, and she managed to shoot him in the arm to stop him from what's doing. But she, once again, she did something really amazing. Instead of walking away like most cowboys would, because the wound was not deadly or anything, she took to nursing it and became known as Nurse Hall. She actually cut his food, took care of him, and it was quite a different attitude that most of them were used to. And this is what they said: he ain't a drinker and he can't play cards with a hall of triples, but he's all right doing dose of medicine and such things, explained the cowboys. Moreover, he was all right when it became the handling a horse or a revolver, which, after all counts, the lowest points in estimation that bottle the cards. Besides that, he had a firm alliance with Captain Dick. And in Arizona, that was a cowboy's friendship. Captain Dick did win his position among the Arizona Cowboys without first proving his strength of his good right arm. Captain Dick was never been a believer in the law's delay. He was assisted at more hangings than any sheriff in the territory, and he was quite a man. It was in 1882, while he was still very young, that Captain Dick reached his highest popularity in the watermark. General Fremont, the new governor of the territory, introduced the bill to the legislature. And it was asking that several $1,000s be put aside to equip a company of militia. The other inhabitants and members of the legislature didn't like the idea, and the request for the militia was more from a New England greengrocer who had yet become assimilated to the cowboys and the harmless 4th of July antics in the town. Now, they weren't harmless. Some got killed. What will the militia do? Shoot the cowboys if they don't behave, or even at the price of blood, replied the Craftwild Pathfinder. Then a member of the Yavapai County read a letter from Captain Dick inviting the militia to come to their part of the territory. Now, this is quite different because Arizona wasn't a state yet, and there are members of the legislature who treasure a copy of that to this very day, saying it's more important than Mark Twain and Bill Hayes. Captain Dick proved his sense of humor, and with the coming of a pen as well as a pistol. Several legislatures favored sending the militia just so that to give Captain Dick the chance to write. The militia, which was soon to be engaged, was for bestowing the hospitality on the cowboys. Now, this is really a wild day, and, it was way before there was law and order. And several years ago, a member of the cowboys rode into Prescott, and after frightening all the town peoples and the saloons into a comatose condition, they broke glassware, they were taking fancy shots, they remounted their horses and rode through the town, wildly shooting at the clouds. A posse of citizens was formed, and they tried to put a stop to it. Unfortunately, that ended in a couple of cowboys' deaths, and the period and killing situation throughout the territory that had done no real or serious damage according to the Arizona ethics, and accordingly, they should have been just sent home. Besides, they had wasted all their ammunition. They weren't going to be able to do anything. The day after the killing, Captain Dick rode into town, galloped straight to the mayor's office, and dismounted. He took a folded piece of paper with the mayor's signature, promising to raise funds for the families of the dead cowboys. 2 days later came a letter from Captain Dick to the town officials. It demanded the apology to the cowboys, signed by the mayor and all the dignitaries of town, with the money that there would be some carefully aimed abutting for the cowboys, and it was promised that the townspeople would be at the wrong end of the guns this time. So, in other words, he was saying, if you don't do something, we're going to come into town and we're going to do something for you. Now, and this is before there was much law and order, and it was kind of everybody was fending for themselves. The money and apology, carefully wooded, besprinkled with seals and duty, was signed by leading citizens and officials, and hastily dispatched to Captain Dick. The cowboys were settled with the apology, and the matter ended. When the same Captain Dick was stricken with typhoid fever, it was Jack who nursed him through the dangerous illness. And after that, Boy, which was the captain's name for the youth, usually rode on the captain's side. A year passed before the real identity of boy or Nurse Jack was actually discovered. So she rode around for like 2 years as a man, and it was kind of strange the way they found out who she was. It all came through they found out is that one of the teachers at the country school wanted Jack to go to town and buy some ribbon. It was late in the afternoon. Jack reached Williams and the nearest town. He was in a hurry, and the startled customers in the dry goods store hastily made way for the sun-brown cowboy on a horse who rode straight up to the dry goods. So she basically drove right into town and demanded 3 yards of ribbon. Is it perfectly proper for a cowboy to ride his horse into Arizona, but not into a dry goods store? And it was a very questionable procedure. People didn't like it. Well, while the clerk was hastily making the ribbon, the lady customer came too close to the horse's hooves and was knocked unconscious. So the constable and several deputies proved to be too much for Jack, and he was straightway marched to jail. Captain Dick came to town as soon as he heard of the affair, and he called on the boy at the jail, and to his surprise found out that she was in the women's ward. Jack had been forced to reveal her sex because if she didn't, she was going to be put in the men's quarter. During the 3 days before the trial, Captain Dick became accustomed to the boy being a woman, and she told him his story, how her father had been hanged, how her mother and little sisters had taken refuge with relatives in Portland, and she herself had changed her name from Helen Jackson to Jack Hall. In the life of the cowboy, she had lived quite well. On the day of the trial, the injured woman was recovering from her blow and refused to prosecute. However, the judge was called upon to use his official powers in the crowded courtroom so that Captain Dick and boy were husband and wife. The story was soon known all over the territory, and not only the cowboys on that particular range, but from far and wide, the vigorous had sent congratulations and gifts. Nurse Jack's wedding gifts were always a reminder of the last year of her cowboy life. Riding whips, Mexican sandals, silver spurs, to say nothing of several pairs of splendid riding boots and a dozen sombreros. Captain Dick Wells is going to take his wife to Portland to meet his family. They will return in the stirring and to Arizona, which means home to them. The Cowboys have promised not to call her Mrs. Wells. She wants to be called Nurse Jack. It's her favorite thing. And Captain Dick says he will always be boy to him. Now, I think this is really a fantastic story. We have to understand this is back when women weren't allowed to do anything. And she did. Unfortunately, I don't have any pictures of her, but I hope you like my story. Thank you.